Dolly, I had you mention when you come back into Oracle and you begin challenging Kendi and asking her, those investments, where are you at in the journey now?
Yeah.
But before getting to where you're at in the journey now, there's something Kendi shared in her CTA. And I wanted to repeat that story for those who haven't watched it. Mm-hmm. When she was sharing it, I found it slightly controversial, what she was sharing. Until, of course, she hit me with the punchline. You get?
Yeah.
But I found that I can't skip over that. That was such a huge thing that you guys that Kendi shared. Mm-hmm. Kendi share it. Let's get into that conversation. So what, you know the one I'm talking about, huh?
The first investment I had. Okay, all right.
Because the car wasn't really the investment.
No. The car was a means to an end. Yes, okay. And by means to an end, I mean the car was my way of getting my allowance, my car allowance, because the car would not have gotten the car allowance as in chicken and egg situation. Yeah. So we go about that a year later, actually, after getting the car. I get engaged. We are still in HP at the time. I get engaged and people get to know that I'm engaged in the office. HP, we were good friends to each other. So everyone is excited. We would have lunch together in the kitchen. So we are seated around, people are happy. And of course, everyone has said congratulations. Dolly is one of the people who said congratulations. And then after she says congrats, she tells me, let's have coffee or something like that. Let's sit and have a conversation. So I'm like, now, this one, you know, she was the cop of the office. I think I said that. She really was. So when someone, and she's tough, don't see her like this. Where? This one, she's tough. So she tells me that conversation. For me, when I hear it, I hear I've done something wrong. So I'm in a rush. If I've done something wrong, I'm in a rush to know what have I done wrong, so I correct it. So I'm rushing. I'm telling her, okay, let's sit now. She's like, no. Let's finish work. Before you go, don't live in a hurry. Let's sit and talk. So we go sit and talk. Then she tells me, you've gotten engaged. I'm like, yes. And she tells me, congratulations. This is the first conversation we are having about life, actually. It was the first conversation we were having outside of...
work.
Outside of the car. Now from a life conversation. Yeah. And...
You are going deeper. It is the first layered conversation.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, why is she asking me if I'm gotten married? Again, in my mind, I'm wondering, what have I done wrong? Yeah. Then she's like, no, marriage is good. It's beautiful. I've been married. At the time, she had been married for some years and she had a young child. So we speak about that. Then she asks me, the last we spoke about your finances, you were buying the car. How is that going? I tell her, I've done very well. And I've paid off the car. The loan is even almost done. It was almost done. Then she tells me, okay, and what else have you been doing with your money? Because that money which is paying the car was already car allowance. So there's salary. She's like, what have you been doing with the salary? Then I look at her blankly and she's like, I'm like, what do you mean?
Kendi, had anybody ever asked you that before?
No. Who now? No. No one had. So I'm looking at her and I'm not understanding that question.
Up until this time, and this is not your first job.
No.
Nobody had ever asked you, what are you doing with your salary?
Yes.
Wow.
And you see the reason, and maybe you could say this, why you felt, because I've actually never asked you this, why maybe you felt the need to ask me is because she had visibility onto, like when you come in, she would be the one who would see the pay slips and see what difference there is. So anyway, so she asked about the money, then she's like, okay, can I have you buy land? I want you to invest. Then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I'm hearing her. So I tell her, yes, I'm going to do it. Then she says, no, I don't think you're understanding me. Have you decided when you're getting married? Then I tell her, yes, in 6 months' time. It looks like, that was November, it looks like May we are going to get married. So she's like, so you have about 6 months. Then can you buy land before you get married? Then I look at her and I'm like, now, what are you trying to tell me? But I let her continue. Then she says, I want you to buy land in your name. Then she continues to speak. And I'm like, well, I hear you, but as people, we are from church, we do joint accounts, we have open conversations about money. I'm like, I'm not saying you don't have open conversations about money. What I'm telling you is, you have enough money that you're earning that you need to go in with a solid asset so that the money within the next 6 months, you're not directing all your money towards the wedding. Because if you do not put any investment now, you're going to direct all your money towards the wedding. But also, so that as you show up with your husband, and he's now being your husband, you show up as a partner. When he receives you and you go into that home, you are going in as two people who are contributing to the family. Now, that is the only reason I listened to her. Because what she was trying to help me understand is that marriage was not a rival. That I needed to show up as an independent person, as a person who's contributing to the assets of the family. And she even went further to tell me, actually, go to these places, look at this land, and go with your fiancé. That was the first conversation we had about investments.
Dolly, I want you to break this down. I want to understand the thinking behind that. I've heard it from Kendi's perspective. I want to hear it from your perspective. What had you seen? What is it that you knew? Why did you do this? I'm just opening up that conversation for you to share from your perspective.
I think, I don't even know whether, and I'm hearing it now, I remember that conversation, like generally. Yeah, because I've had the same kind of conversation with many who have come and told me, oh, I'm engaged. And then I would do the same. And it's interesting listening to it now. There are many things that contributed to that. The first thing is, one of the many things is how much time I spend, or I spent, or I still continue to spend with those who have gone ahead of me. So I knew about that myself before I got married.
Okay.
And I did the same thing. And I saw what that showed up as. Part of my whole package of, this is who's going to get married, this is who's going to get married to this man, this is who this family is receiving. I saw how that showed up. And the way it showed up, I like the words she has used, brought me into that home, that marriage, as a partner. Yeah. And not because there could be any doubt. Maybe there would be, maybe not. But even you get married into an extended family.
Yes.
Not just one person. The way then you're received is different. At least that was my experience. But at the same time, and a lot of these conversations and all these decisions, by the way, I was influenced by my aunties, my older women from church, etc., that were exposed to us. And even as I was in my mom's kitchen cooking for them and just sitting down and wondering, what do these older women talk about? Those gems you pick from there. The other thing that made it clear for me that needed to happen, and then I started sharing, was that as a lady, as a girl, traditionally, even land ownership goes through the man. The grandfather to your father to your brothers and stuff like that. So a lot of that land ownership and land transfer goes through the boy child. The women then would get to buy their land. And I thought in those many conversations I had been, wherever it is I was hanging out and picking, I realized that the period between when you stop being a child, as Kendi puts it, 25, when now you're an adult, proper adult, between that period, 25, and when you get married.
I do.
There's a window where if you acquire this asset, it's actually yours. Then it means that you can then will it as you wish. it doesn't belong to your siblings and your father and your mother. And legally, it also doesn't belong to your husband or his family. The only claim to it can be yourself, because you got it, and then your children, and whoever else you wish to will it to. And I realized that that window there is an asset that you need to think about what to do with. Right? And the thing is not to say that you keep it a secret from either your siblings and your parents or your husband. But to bring up that conversation in a way that gives you the confidence to sit at the table, whatever that table is, and have that conversation. That's what I felt that did for me. To even get people to listen, as in she has something to say, but she's done it. She knows, right? And this window, by the way, is the same for a boy child, not just a girl, because there is the land he's been willed by his father, who got it from his grandfather, meaning that his brothers are also looking at it, and therefore that land could come with very many stories. And then there's the one that he acquires with his wife, and same story. And there's claim from the wife and the children and stuff. Then there's the window. This window, actually, you get assets that go like these assets, and actually they just actually bear my name, and I can use them as I.
And I like that Kendi says it did something for her. And I like even the same thing that you're talking about. She came to the table with something. Again, I want to say it's funny when I see the two of you seated here, I'm trying to return myself back to that day when you guys met, or at least those early years. So I really like how Kendi has explained it when she says, when you called her and told her you wanted to meet her, this was not anywhere. Your friendship, this layer of onion hadn't been peeled. So it was even you deciding to peel a layer. But again, and this I know is something you're extremely passionate about, and I want to enter it, is this was now the first time you are, in a sense, having the investment conversation with her. Or let me say, financial conversation. I know about her car, yes, but you asked her, what are you doing with your money? Can we just have a conversation about friendships, money? When is it right to do it? When is it not? I mean, just let me open that up for you, and then you take us, or to both of you.
Wait, before we go to that, when you were speaking, actually, what triggered in me? You see, when as she was explaining, which I didn't even realize that's what you meant by those asset years, but yet now as I listen to it, I'm like, whoa, that's it actually. Because of that conversation and what she enabled me to see, immediately we got married. No, just before as I was getting married, my husband's family, they offered for us to move into one. Have I ever told you this even? I don't even think so. Into one of their apartments owned by the parents. And I am the one who said, no, we are not going to do that. And what was driving me to say no is the conversation we had. As in, she had already equipped me and empowered me to the sense of show up as a partner. Marriage is not a rival. Be independent in that sense as a unit. That while it was offered and with generosity, to the same parents, we went and said, you've worked so hard for so long. You reap the benefits of your sweat. The easier route, by the way,
it is the easier route,
would have been to be like, and it was an amazing apartment in Nairobi West. The easier route would have been,
sweet,
we are not paying rent.
God is good.
Let's go in. But what would that have done for us as we start as a family unit? Would have been very complacent, very comfortable. I just thought to say that from a mindset, what started to shift just because of that conversation. Now we can go to the next bit.
That's powerful. Again, the financial conversation. As the inner circle begins to form. Actually, this time it's not even formed. Kendi was confused when you're here having this conversation. Where does this come in into your life, and what is the importance of even friendships and finances? The two F's, friendship, finance. Let's have that conversation.
So, you know, when you... So, in the case of Kendi and I was doing a lot of guiding in the first years, right? And she was receiving it well, hungry for that knowledge, and doing. Now, and then she'd come back, ask, do, understand, go, action it. I think I kept allowing her back because she was actioning. Now, if you know, it's just like a child who's maybe not so strong in math and goes for tuition, or stays back in the class and asks the teacher, how do I do this one, this simultaneous equation? And you see the child is trying, right? You can't, you allow the child access. Yeah, I allowed that access because she was doing, and kept coming back and showing. Even me, by the way, it was like a celebration, like it worked. She's doing and it's working, and she's even listening and she's doing and it's working. So it's even energizing for me. And that now what happened, I think naturally, is proximity, access, and then beyond the money. It's not that any time we were meeting, we're just talking about money. We talk about other stuff. Then we start slowly, I don't know, I really don't know, maybe we're talking about hair or makeup or shoes, I don't know. But then it starts getting softer. From the, you need to go do this, you should not, maybe you want to think about that differently, to, oh, what are the wedding colors? Where will the wedding be? So it starts getting softer, and that is where now that friendship starts forming. That thing starts coming. It starts with instruction, mentorship, coaching, actually. Teaching.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really a mentoring. And then, you know, the frequency, the celebration of little wins, and then moving into new spaces and getting softer, that is where the friendship started. And then I started realizing that her mind works like mine. Right? In fact, well, till today, it's a bit spooky. Yeah? I started realizing this one is a younger me. and you know, I would hold back a bit and go like, go slowly, Dolly. Go slowly, Dolly. But even as I was thinking I would go slowly, she'd come with gear 6, gear 5, gear 6, gear 7. Then she's there. I'm like, okay, now that you're here, let's have this conversation. What do you think about? And maybe that is when now it starts switching really to, we are peers in this conversation. Or she's moving closer to, from being the learner, the student, the mentee, to, I see maybe from step 1 to step 7, and she now sees from step 1, she has moved from seeing from step 1 to 2, 3, then one day, cumulatively, and because of effort, she's done the work. If I see 7, she sees 7. If I see 9, she might not be clear about the difference between 7 and 9, but within time, she calls back and says, I see what you're saying. And then sometimes I see 7, and then she goes like, but what about this? Then I realize she's taken us to 8. And that's where the dance now starts happening.
Let me ask this question. I'm sure Kendi wasn't the only one in this time.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some who started ahead of Kendi and fell off. There are some who, or the season ended, let me not even use fell off. There are some who truly maybe didn't listen to what it is that you want, and therefore it didn't progress. But what I want to know is there times she didn't do what it is that you're asking her to do, and therefore, why didn't it fall off? Because if others didn't do what it is that you're telling them to do, and it fell off, why then didn't this fall off?